Hello and welcome everyone. In our today's class, we are going to discuss about the gas tungsten arc welding equipment. So in our previous class, we already discussed about the introduction of gas tungsten arc welding and the meaning of gas tungsten arc welding and its application areas. But our today's class concerns is what are the equipment is used in gas tungsten arc welding and what are their functions. So as you see from this, gas tungsten arc welding is a constant current power source, or it uses a constant current powers, or this means that the machine supplies a varying amounts of voltage when the current is constant. So this is unlike gas metal arc welding. As you know, in gas metal arc welding, the gas metal arc welding uses the constant voltage. Not only gas metal arc welding and also flux core arc welding are uses the constant voltage currents, but in this case, in gas metal arc welding process, the gas metal arc welding uses what? It is a constant current. So this means the current is constant. This means the while welding by using gas tungsten arc welding, the welder sets the current prior to the welding, set the current on the machine, and then the machine can calculate the voltage, the amount of the voltage which is suitable for the that constant current, the amounts of current. So gas tungsten arc welding uses three types of currents. This means we can use AC power source, or we can use DC, and also two polarities: direct current electronegative and direct current electropositive. That is, we can select depending on different variables. So direct current electrode positive or DC electrode positive is sometimes used during the welding process, and as well as we can use direct current electrode negatives. So these types of metal, or the types of metal to be welded, and other variables that determine the types of the currents. So in this case, you must be first identify what are the materials, properties of the materials to be welded. So before selecting this DC electronegative or DC electropositive or AC. So it depends on the materials to be welded, and also other variables can influence the selection of the current. So in this case, as we previously discussed, the electrode in gas tungsten arc welding is a non-consumable tungsten electrode. However, the welder may manually add the filler metal rod or wire to the welding. So this means because of the electrode does not melt it and does not add it or does not transfer it to the joint area, it's important to apply the filler rod from the side to use as a filler or as a filler material. The welding torch is one part of one equipment. The welding torch, when say the welding torch, it is maybe in gas metal arc welding, as we know, there is a welding gun, but here there is a welding torch which is used for holding the tungsten electrode, to hold the tungsten electrode, and also to conduct electricity to the arc. This is maybe by using the parties in the torch. There is a collet. The collet can transfer the current to the electric current to the electrode. So we call simply the use of the torch is to hold the electrode or tungsten electrode and to conduct electricity to the arc, and also to provide the means. They provide the means for delivering the shielding gas to weld areas. So this is very important part of the gas tungsten arc welding. So as you see from this figure shows all parts of the tungsten arc welding. So we call this is the GTAW or gas tungsten arc welding circuit. This means it needs full circuit, as we already discussed in our previous classes. So these are all the parts. So when you see here, we already said that the power source is maybe AC or DC power source. So this is a constant current, as we already discussed. It's a constant current power source or welder. So the another part is also we need the shielding gas here, the shielding gas. So this is a cylinder which contains the shielding gas. In gas tungsten arc welding, the gas is what? It is the inert gas for shielding the welding area. When we say the welding area includes electrode. As you seen in this case, this is the electrode tip or tungsten electrode tip, and also the molten metal or welding paddle in the welding area, and also the tip is of what? The tip is of the filler rod, as well as the arc formed between the tips of the electron base metal must be protected from air contamination. When we say air contamination, there is the oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, which are the enemies of welding. So it's important to fully protect from this air contamination by using the shielding gas. So as we already said, the shielding gas in this cylinder is inert gas. Maybe we can use argon or helium, or the mixture of argon and the helium. And so this is the gas container, or we call the cylinder. And here also, this is here there is a regulator, and also the regulator, and also flow meter. So this means we can discuss in the parts, but here this regulator is to determine or to check or to show the amount of gases or pressures in the cylinder, and this flow meter is to adjust the amounts of gas to be flowed through this gas line to the welding area. So these are the parts. And also here there is a foot pedal here. The foot pedal you see on this figure is used for what? For raising or decreasing, or increasing, decreasing, or for controlling the amperage. We can control the amperage by using this foot pedal, or in some torches there is a button on the torch to control the amounts of amperage we use, but it is depending on their application areas. It is depending on what? On its application areas. So these are the parts of what? The parts of gas tungsten arc welding, or full circuit of the gas tungsten arc welding. In gas tungsten arc welding, welders controls the control welding current with a remote. That means, as we already discussed here, it might be controlled by the remote, or maybe the remote control, as it already discussed in the figure. This may be the remote is here, like the foot pedal, what you are seeing in the figure. So the foot pedal is generally used in area where the welders can sit. When the welders can sit down, this means this is only used for what? For the welding station, where it's possible to sit sit down in the weld. This is, it depends on the what? On the area, welding area. So this means if it is not possible to control the current with foot pedal, it's important to select the torch that has the control button, arc control button. So this is must be during what? During the welder welding by sitting. So the welder raises or lowers the pedal for more or less welding current. So this is it presses the foot pedal for raising and also releasing for less welding currents. So this is almost how we can control the welding current. So however, for out of position, as we already discussed, for out of position welding, if it is impossible for weld by sitting, it is important. This means if it is out of position welding, it's important to use what? To use the hand control. Hand control are used to allow the welder more freedom to move. So this is especially in site welding. In site welding, it is important to use these types of to get the more freedom. That's maybe in the outward position. Finally, a gas cylinder supplies the shielding gas. The shielding gas used in gas tungsten arc welding. So this means there's a shielding gas is already, as we already discussed about the shielding gas, which is used to shield the welding area from air contamination. So it is it should be supplied from the cylinder. So here, as we seen on the figure, there is the cylinder pressure regulator. This means the cylinder pressure regulator is the regulator that is fitted to the cylinder that indicate the amount of gas pressure in the cylinder. This means the gas is a consumable material. It's a consumable shielding material. So it indicates that shows the amount of gases in the cylinder is what? The pressure gauge, or maybe the cylinder pressure gauge. The cylinder pressure gauge. And also there is the flow meter. This may be, we can use also in this case also we can use the regulator. But in gas tungsten arc welding, we can also use flow meter. So the flow meter is the shielding gas flow meter controls the amount of shielding gas pressure that continuously flow to the weld area. So to the shield, how much may be insufficient or too much gases. Sometimes it's important to use the desired amount of gases depending on the welding design. Always, before we selecting anything, it is important to understand the welding design. So as you see from this figure, this figure shows the torch with the manual control. By using this button on the torch, we can raise or reduce the amounts of amperage used for welding. So this is almost during awkward position. When you are welding in awkward position, it's important to select this manually controlled, or the torch with what? With a control button. And also we can use here, this one is the foot pedal. This also, the function is almost the same with this. This is a manual control and this is a foot pedal control. This means to control what? To control the amounts of current. So this figure shows the welding torch holds the tungsten electrode and delivers the shielding gas to the welding area by using this control, or by using this amperage control button. And also this shows the foot pedal controls welding the welding current. To control the welding current, this is almost foot pedal control, or we call this is the remote type control. Okay, and from the equipment of the gas tungsten arc welding, one is gas torches. If we say gas torch, it is different in sizes and also in capacity. So the gas tungsten arc welding torch holds, as we already discussed, it holds the tungsten electrode. Used for holding tungsten electrode, so it can manipulate along the welding path. So this is the tungsten electrode is to generate the arc between the tips of the electrode and that between the base metal, and so it is important to manipulate the window along the welding path. So like this means in gas metal arc welding we use what, the welding gun like this. Here also in gas tungsten arc welding we are using the gas tungsten arc welding torches. So it used in other as it uses welding guns uses in the other welding processes. The gas tungsten arc welding torch is rated according to its duty cycle. So in our previous class we already discussed the selection of welding guns in gas metal arc welding. It is almost we already said that the welding gun rates depending on their duty cycle. Here also the GTAW welding torch also are rated depending on what their duty cycle. This means which is the maximum current that can be used without overheating. Maybe we can use the 70% duty cycle. 70% duty cycle. When you say 70, at what amperage, at what current? So this is very important to understand the duty cycle. So it must be depending on the duty cycle of what? Duty cycle of gas tungsten arc welding machines. So this means that the torch performs work only for a certain amount of time before it must be cooled. So the gas tungsten arc welding torch conducts electricity to the electrode and supplies inert shielding gas to the electrode tip, and arc welding areas. So as we already discussed, electrode tip may be contaminated by air. Arc also may be we need this is stable arc. We cannot produce stable arc if it does not shielded by shielding gas, by inert gases. And here also welding area. When you say welding area, there is the molten metal or welding puddle and heat affected zone. So this must be protected from the air contamination. So it also insulates. This is the function of what? The function of gas tungsten arc welding torches. The gas tungsten arc welding torches also insulate the electrode and electrical connections from the welder. So this is also it has the plastic cover which is used as what? As the insulator. So the heat generated, the heat is always generated in the torch during welding. It must be removed by what? By water or by gases. So there is two types of torches. Maybe we can use water cooled torches or gas cooled torches. The water cooled type is cooled by the passage of the water through the torch, and also the gas cooled torch is cooled by the passage of the shielding gas in the torch. So we can use we can select the types depending on their functions. So here the water cooled torch is cooled by the passage of water through the hoses in the torch, and the water exits the system through the line in the power cable. So we can see from the figure here there is two types of these are the gas tungsten arc welding torches, which can be cooled by what? By gases, and this figure indicates the parts of the gas tungsten arc welding torches which needs the water. So in this case, don't forget that in gas tungsten arc welding torch that needs water, it needs the connection with what? With water tap and drain. So here the figure shows there is a cooling water inlet. In this case, the water is entering the system and exit through the welding through the power cable, and so it circulates in the system. So a gas cooled is cooled by the passage of the inert shielding gas. So there is no need of another gases to cool the gas cooled type. It is cooled by what? By the inert shielding gases, by the passage of the inert gases through the power cable. So this is it can cool by what? By the passage of shielding gas. So there is no need to another gases to cool the system or to cool the torch. The inert gas by itself can cool what? Can cool the torches. So unlike water cooled torch, these torches are generally used for low current when compared with what? With the water cooled type. The gas cooled type is what? It is almost used the low current. It uses the low current current application or light duty field workers where water is not available. So this is it. We can select depending on their application. It also lighter than what? Than the water cooled type. This means indirectly when we're discussing about these types of torches, the water cooled type torch has used for what? For heavy duty operations, or heavy duty welding operations, and also it uses high current, and it is heavier than what? Than the gas cooled type. So here on this figure shows what? It shows this one is the gas cooled type. This is almost lighter, the light one, and this is the heavier one. Even in the physically, when you see this figure, this is the larger than what? Than this gas cooled type, and also it needs another hose for what? For supplying the water to the system. So this water enters the system through the hose, another hoses, and exited through these power cables. So in this case, the water cooled type, it needs another hoses for gas for water inlet, and also there is no need of additional hoses for the gas cooled type. So these are this shows the difference between the gas cooled and the water cooled type torches. So another point here is it's important to know the parts of gas tungsten arc welding torches. So we said already the use of the gas tungsten arc welding torches to hold the electrode to allow the passage of shielding gas to the welding area, and also to use as the insulator to insulate the electricity from the welder. And also there are different parts, the uses of these torches depending on the parts. Their parts, as you see here, there is the torch body. This is used as the insulator and also used as the handle. There is a part of torch body, and also collet set. When you say collet set, this is a two parts here, collet body and collet. So we call simply as a collet set. And also the torch cap. This torch cap is inserted on the back of the torch to allow the gripping, or to allow the securing of the electrode. And also there is a part we call nozzle. These are the parts of what? Parts of the nozzles. So the torch body, let us discuss what the use of the torch body and what part of the torch we call the torch body. It is the plastic part. It is the plastic part of the gas tungsten arc welding torch that holds the electrodes. And collet set. This means, as we already discussed, the collet set, it has two parts, collet and collet body. So the collet set secures the electrode. This is the use of the collet set is to secure the electrode in the torch. This means by it is to grip the electrode. So this is also depending on the size of the electrode. It may depending on the size of the electrode, and it is highly conductive materials. It is made from the copper materials. So the function is to conduct electricity to the electrode, and also to grip the electrode on the position. So these two pieces set is made to fit each standard size tungsten electrodes. So it's made depending on the tungsten electrode. This means we can have different size of the collet sets. So the collet set is typically made of what? Made of copper material. It's a copper material which is highly conductive metal. So it allows, or it conducts the electricity to the electrode. The one function is this. So the another is also, there is a part we call the torch cap. The torch cap is tightened on the back of the torch. It's tightened on the back of the torch. So we know already the torch back, but it must be tightened on the back of the torch. But what's the use of the torch? It's important to understand the use of the torch cap. As a result, the collet grips the electrodes when the torch cap is tightened in place. So this is also to use for what? For setting or for gripping the electrode. So it allows the collet to grip the electrode. So torch cap are designed in a varying lengths to match standard tungsten electrodes, and adapt the torch for welding in small areas. So this is different areas. Welding to allows to weld in different areas. This means small area or wide area, or in a wide area we can use in small area. So when we are selecting the torches, use the caps, shorten the caps. This may be it allows to use the small size of the tungsten electrode. So it depends on the size of the electrode. It allows to weld in also a small area. This means there are different standards of the caps. So it depends on the length of the electrode. So here on this figure shows the parts. this means the cap, this is the it shows the caps which is used to insert in this in the back of the torch, so it uses for what? For there is a two function of the torch cap. It is to direct the shielding gas to the welding area, and also used for securing the electrode in the collet. So here there is also the nozzle. This called nozzle. There are also different size, the shapes. Sorry. Different size and the shapes of the nozzle. So what's the use of the nozzle? Nozzle is it's a part of gas tungsten arc welding torches. So the nozzle or the cap fits over the arc ends. This means when the arc ends, the back arc and also the fore arc of the torch to direct the inert gases over the electrode and weld pole. So this both nozzle on the torch nozzle and then cap is to control. They are used to control the shielding gases. And also the inert gas is another part. Inert gas. When you say inert gas, it's another part. It is the used as the material. It's consumable material used for what? For shielding the welding areas. So the inert gas flows through the torch body. So here there is a torch body. So the gas flows through this torch body and through the holes in the collet. So this here there is a collet. So there are the holes on the collet. So the shielding gas flows through the holes in the collet to the arc end. So the arc end means to the tips of the electrode. To shield what? To shield this from the contamination or from the air contamination. So these are the parts of the torches. So the parts of the torch typically welding torches. So there are small size torches or small size nozzles. These small size nozzles allows to provide adequate gases coverage in a small area. So it is depending on the welding area. This means accessibility. Depending on the accessibility, we can select the size of the nozzle also. There may be large nozzle or a small nozzle. Here, when say the nozzles are made of what? This material. They are made from because of on the nozzle, on the tips of the electrode, there is a high arc. Okay. Thank you for today's class.